Well, good morning, fellow citizens. Pat and myself are recovering from some political events that were happening over the last day or two, and we're looking forward to some political events that may be occurring on the mainland. Would you agree, Pat? But are they equally
Yes,
important?
it's all happening, isn't it? I don't know. I haven't seen it this morning, but there was talk last night that Sunak could resign today, such as a fallout from his scurrying away from the D-Day landings memorial service. Nigel Farage, of course, got one, and he says he simply doesn't understand the British way of life. And then, of course, some people said that was a dog whistle to
Oh,
racism,
of
but he
course
said
it
no,
is.
it was about his wealth.
Of course
Of
it
course
was.
it is. Of
Of
course it
course it
was.
was.
Yeah, he can say anything he likes. But anyway, so it's
I
all
thought
happening.
they made, but I thought they made a
Yeah,
fuss over that they didn't deserve. I mean, he was there. If they're hung up on these things, he was there for earlier ceremonies. It just
yeah,
that he wasn't there at the end. I just think, to say, "Oh, you can't be patriotic because you were only there for two and you didn't stay for the third one." I mean, I
yeah.
think that's shit. I really do.
No, the other side of the story, it wasn't very smart politically. There, he could have been seen strutting on the world stage with Joe Biden and Macron and all the rest of it. And he missed that opportunity, and they're running to election. One of the big things for a lot of politicians, particularly international statesmen, is to be seen to be, accompanied by other powerful figures. And it sends out a nice message to the electorate, oh, this is a serious player.
Ah,
So to
but
miss all that, to rush back, I thought it was sort of stupid to do that.
Well, I tend to agree. You should have played safe, but I just don't think it is that important. What events was he at? Did he attend before that? And were those
I'm not
filmed?
sure what he attended, but apparently he was rushing back to some Tory thing. So, like,
Oh, I know.
the one thing that the Brits, you got to think, they have this big thing about their army and their military and all this sort of stuff. And it's, in fairness, Sunak should have talked about own goals. That's really what I'm saying.
He left himself open. He should have assumed the worst, I think, in terms of people
Yeah,
responding or parties
yeah,
responding. Uh,
yeah.
and for Nigel Farage to say he doesn't understand, oh God, preserve us all. Okay, let's move briefly. We might come back to the British politics and election, but what about what day was it? Thursday's election? Friday,
Yeah.
did they have the election?
The local government and
What's your
the
feeling?
European elections.
What's
June
your
is
feeling, Pat?
the what?
What's your feeling after
Sinn
the
Fein,
results?
Sinn Fein has got a bit of a kicking. There's no doubt about that, Jude. And by the way, remember, and I'm taking credit for this myself. Remember, I said to you that they seem to have. Remember after the riots in Dublin, the far right riots.
I remember.
But
I
when
do remember. Yeah.
I thought Mary Lou misjudged the mood of the people,
Hmm.
and there was all that sort of thing. And I thought, wait a minute, there's something not right here. Anyway, bottom line, Jude, I think maybe the electorate in the Republic are scurrying back towards the centre. That's what I'm starting to think. Yeah, no, a majority of them, not all, in the sense that economically things have been going really well, reasonably
Yeah.
well. There was a big, what do you call it, budget surplus again announced last
Yes.
week. Things are going well, and that whole thing, a safe pair of hands, and there was a woman on who's, I think her name was Teresa Reedy. She's a professor of politics. I
Yeah.
think it's in Cork, and she's very, very good. And she said the other night, she said, basically, a lot of people are sort of saying, look, even if Sinn Fein got into government, would they be able to turn around the housing situation that much quicker than what the big parties are able to do? And she's a lot of people, and Billy Kelleher, who is now looks like he's going to get an Ireland South get elected back to the European Parliament. He said people want stability, and he says they're seeing across the globe now they're seeing so much upheaval. A lot of people are sort of saying, "Look, let's stick to what we have." And I think, Jude, there's an element of that.
You're arguing a strong case there, but over the last, up until very recently, even months ago, Sinn Féin were twice the percentage of what they got. I
Yeah,
just don't understand that sudden drop.
yeah,
Seems when I look at the charts, it seems that the independents mirror the losses for Sinn Féin. In other
yeah,
words, Sinn Féin's gone down by the same amount
yeah.
that
It's
independents have gone up.
independent. Yeah, yeah,
Now, I can maybe you could enlighten me on this, but I can see independence, case for independence if you've got, say, a place for immigrants foisted
Yeah.
on your community. You might say, oh, we have to have a local voice, somebody understands us, and you'd vote for a local candidate. But are there other things? Is that the only thing? Surely it's so many of them were elected that it must be
Yeah.
other things. And how do they, what are those other things, and how would a
Right,
local
Jude, here,
candidate affect it?
let me run you a couple of things, and I think these things are important. You know the way they handled the Palestinian thing. Remember, a lot of the grassroots, and it was the grassroots. They were saying, "Don't go to the White House. Don't get involved in that. That we should be protesting about what's happening there." And for the boys, I presume the guys in Dublin maybe overruled the boys in Belfast in that one, and because they look good for politics to Mary Lou to be, slumming it in the White House with Joe Biden and so on. That and remember too, there was a guy, a Palestinian guy, was I think actually ejected from a Sinn Fein meeting in Belfast around that time because he was creating a bit of a fuss. Dude, that didn't play well. What's the other thing? There's another thing as well, which I was chatting to a man in Derry yesterday, and a very intelligent, sort of rational, moderate man, and he says the whole university thing in Derry. He said he had tried to engage with Sinn Fein on a number of occasions, and he says they won't even take him on. He says there's almost this sort of communistic, centralized thing that they're not allowed to speak individually, and he's pissed off, and he's a Republican, by the way. He says that they don't seem to want to go off script at all, and he says that is not the way in 2024 for a party to behave. He says they're going to have to sort of take a few risks and get, this sort of scripted, centralized control type, everybody on message all the time. He says that's not working.
That sounds totally convincing, except that a couple of years ago, not more now, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, Sinn Féin were still doing the same things you've said about people peeping to the script and so on. And they did wonderfully well, amazingly well. Their only problem was they hadn't enough candidates in there. So what has changed? I mean, are you saying that the Sinn Féin party that now exists is different from the one then? Because the one then, it couldn't hold the votes that people were making for them.
No, Jude, I think when you keep repeating the same thing and the circumstances have changed, a lot of people get pissed off. Jude, it wasn't the same situation 4 years ago. We didn't have the immigrant problem. That wasn't an issue for Sinn Féin. The big issue 4 years ago in the Republic was housing, and Sinn Féin had Owen O'Brien, who ran rings around the government parties by some considerable distance, and that was their strong suit. There was also an alienation in the sense that there was two Irelands. There was the Ireland of the well-off, and then there was the Ireland of the young people who couldn't get a mortgage, who couldn't rent, who had to go back to live with their mothers and fathers at the cost of living crisis and all that sort of stuff. And I think Sinn Féin, there's something about Sinn Féin, they have lost the common touch in recent times. I don't know why. I can't explain. Okay, we were missing. We went after on our wee jaunts, but prior to that, not a single member of Sinn Féin called this house looking for a vote. I didn't see a big. It was a very lackluster campaign on the telly.
Okay, Pat. I said one point. You said that nobody came to your house. Did anybody come to your house for the time when Sinn Féin did so well? Was it the 2020 election?
Yes, absolutely.
Did come.
They were much more hungry. But look at this, Lynn Boylan. She was odds-on favourite in Dublin. There, and she's on 37,000 votes. What do you call him? Barry Andrews of Fianna Fáil is on 62,000, if I remember correctly. And Regina Doherty, who's somewhere to the right of Adolf Hitler from Gael, she's on about 59, 60. So people have scurried back towards the centre.
I still don't get it. Yeah. I mean, if I was looking for a house and couldn't afford it before this, I'm still looking for a house and can't afford it. And there's no sign that the government will do anything to help me.
Yeah, Jude, I do think this immigration thing has Sinn Féin. I don't know what
they say. Some of the commentators are saying that it wasn't so much immigration. They thought immigration would be bigger than it was, but it wasn't. Yeah. They claim. Yeah. I don't know how they work that out, but that's what they do claim.
I don't know, Jude. I don't buy that. Sinn Féin have had a couple of missteps in recent times, and they're going to have to find that common touch again, and so on. But anyway, Jude, there's another thing. See this thing. Sinn Féin don't have a big organisation down south, Jude. You go down to somewhere like Laois or Carlow or on. There's no tradition of Sinn Fein there. Like if in certain parts of Fianna Fáil put up a donkey, you'd get elected. And that's a fact. So that there's that whole thing. They don't. They're strong in the north. They're strong in the border counties and so on, and they're strong in Dublin and maybe a wee bit around about Cork. But you go to Galway, go down all that west coast. If you can find a Shinner down there, he's first generation. There's no tradition there of
Yeah, but
Sinn Féin.
there is a tradition if you talk in terms of the last general election. All over Ireland, they were returning Sinn Féin candidates. So there might have been a tradition before it, but they've seen fit to.
No, Jude, no, you're talking about general election, not a local government election.
All right,
they were very, very,
So do you think if a general election is called before Christmas, do you expect that what happened on Friday to be replicated?
No, I think they'll do much, much better at a general election because then the focus is on one or two candidates, not sort of as scattergun. They don't have the bodies on the ground for a local government election the way they have them for a general election. That they'll get the vote out there, and as well as that, they're usually much more focused and much more on the ball at a general election. Plus the fact, I think they're that sort of party that. They're very good at sort of getting the message across, but seeing local issues, Jude, like as somebody complaining about a pothole or whatever, or a sewer or someone that can get votes for some guy who an independent. Sure, in Donegal, Jude, there's the mic issue. That's taking a hell of a lot of votes away from Sinn Féin.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't latch onto it. I'm just thinking that given that there's so many independents, you'd wonder why does every democracy anyway in the world have political parties? I mean, if it's a really good idea to get a local guy who'll fix your potholes and attend to local matters, what's the point in having a national party? And yet every country seems to see the need, including Ireland, North and South, seems to see the need for them. So what am I missing there? What is it about the local person that wouldn't fit into a party? And why are the parties if this little thing so good?
If I could answer that, I'd be a political scientist, but I can't. Jude, a lot of things. There's like look at the Healy Rays down in Kerry. I think 3 of them topped the poll, and like everybody laughs at them. They think they're the village idiots and so on. Far from village idiots, by the way. But they know that's sort of the cloth cap and the sort of and so on. But Jude, they top the poll because the people down there think they deliver for them.
Yeah, do you know what the Healy Rays remind me of? Only it's sort of polar opposite at the same time, and that is the Kennedys in the States.
Yeah.
Because they're all related. The name is sufficient to bring people into office. They're a dynasty that looks like it's go on from grandfather to father to son. Never stop. And they're also enormously rich.
Absolutely.
I understand.
One of them, my dear missus was telling me that one of them just picked up near enough $1 million from housing asylum seekers. They're, and they have massive contracts with Kerry County Council. They own about more businesses than you can shake a stick at, and yet they've got the stick, of being, the country bumpkins. And you just watch them in action; they are as sharp could be.
Mm-hmm. Did I fall asleep, or did you answer that question as to why local people are seen as so valuable, and yet every country has parties?
You're definitely falling asleep because I told you haven't a clue. Okay.
Fair enough. Okay, my last question on this whole topic. Did you say that you expect Sinn Féin to do dramatically better if there's a general election called? I'm
not saying dramatically better. I'm saying considerably better.
Considerably?
No, there's something not right at the minute. Lynn Boylan, I'm using her as a sort of weather gauge. She topped the poll and was expected to, only a couple of months ago. If I remember correctly, they did some polls, the usual, and she was expected to top the actual poll on June 7th. She's 37 votes. She's the quota, I think, is 75,000. So she's well short of a quota. And Barry Andrews, who was struggling the last time, he's topping the poll, and Regina Doherty, who was rejected by the electorate in the general election, by some considerable distance. She's well ahead of Sinn Fein. So Sinn Fein, they're, as Mary Lou said yesterday, I saw that live. She says we'll go and study us and learn and improve, and they might need to do that.
Yeah. Do you see them ever getting back to the point where they were a potential government?
Not right now, Jude. No, definitely, Jude. It's becoming more disparate or discreet, or whatever you like to call it. Yes, there's a massive number of 160 independents. The last time I checked, geez, Jude, that's a hell of a lot of independents.
I see
right,
that.
By the way, Jude, when I looked at, there were 820 seats filled at the time. Now, Jude, I haven't checked it this morning. Fine Gael were on 214, and Fianna Fáil 204. Sinn Féin were 91.
That idea of these local people, I think there must be a catch there somewhere, because otherwise you wouldn't have such things as political parties. We even have political groupings in Europe, and yet all these local candidates, more than ever was elected before, now are emerging. I suspect it's this, that people will have to learn that when they send a single local candidate to the Dáil or wherever, that it's not going to work. That they won't have the kind of leverage. They'll not be able to solve the problem.
But that's the old catch cry about independence. People have been saying, why do you send an independent? Like, if you Fianna Fáil all together, they can outvote an independent all day long. So that's been known. And sure, one of the claims is, why don't Donegal so often vote for independence that they can achieve nothing? Then on the other side, look at the Healy Rays. They've been fortunate on a couple of occasions to be their votes are vital for the government, so they've been able to squeeze the government and to get projects for their area. So there you go.
I leave it to this. My view on the Healy Rays is they're a bloody scourge, and I hope they get defeated as soon as possible. And my view on independents generally are that they really do bad things to the electoral system. Except you don't believe in the idea of political parties. I've never met anybody yet who was opposed to the notion of political parties. I just think that independence, it's like mice at the crossroads. They go in all directions, and there's, I don't think, it's saying in effect, I want my wee area looked after, and I don't give a crap about the rest of the country. Now, that's bad news. Anyway, you want to look at it.
Remember Tony Gregory got a deal with Charlie Hoy. It was a disgraceful deal. And Tony Gregory was unapologetic. He said, I live in one of the poorest areas in the country, in Dublin, inner city Dublin. I make no apologies. Grand. And I admired him for it. But Jude, it wasn't fair. The rest of the country got screwed because he got something like 83 million at a time when 83 million would be the equivalent of about 160 million.
Yeah. Okay, well, with a tear in our eye, we'll drag ourselves away from that. And we'll go to the Clare Hanna and her posters. Did you see that story?
Yeah,
I admire the guy that stopped his car and got out to give them.
Was his name Lyons or something?
Donald Lyons. I think he's an SDLP councillor.
He's an SDLP councillor. Yeah, to use that colloquial term, he's got balls. I don't think I would have. Five or six young loyalists with pulled down posters, and he confronted them.
He stopped the car and got out. And the tone of voice he used somehow or another, I think it sounded like a teacher's voice or a headmaster's voice. And I think that the back of the the back of the young fella's heads, oh God, we've been caught out of class. Handover. There were, of course, the guys said that they were suspected of bringing them for a bonfire. I don't think they need to say they expected. They almost certainly were. What else reason would they have?
Yeah, but the old sectarian thing is still there. This is South Belfast. Was this area?
Yeah, South Belfast. Yeah. This is East Belfast.
Yes, the leafy suburbs and all. And that boy shouted back at him, "All pigs should be crucified." Where did some wee bollocks, get that sort of sectarianism and bigotry from? Surely, I can understand somebody in the height of the Troubles when there was murders and shootings and killings and all the rest of it. But, some wee 16 or 17-year-old and 2024, he must be getting that back at home.
Do you think we will see no posters on bonfires this year then?
We'll see posters every which way. You know it as well as I do. Yeah.
Do you think maybe would Clare Hanna secretly say, this is a nice wee bit of publicity?
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm the
Yeah.
victim
By the
here.
way, let me put on the record, and I think Clare Hanna is one of the best representatives. And I'm saying that for you. Every time she's on a debate, I think she comes out ahead. She's so rational, and I admire her. And I've seen her on a couple of times. One day she just on talkback, she absolutely destroyed Jim Allister, and I was clapping from the rooftops.
Well, the thing about her, I think a couple of advantages she has. One is she really looks very nice. She's a very good-looking woman, and that's always a
Yep.
help in terms of images. She
And
also has
politics, yeah.
she's blessed with a sort of a cheerful temperament, and
Yeah.
she very rarely diverges from that. You know,
Yeah.
even when she's given out about something, she's saying it in a cheerful way, and I
Yeah.
think most people respond to that. And if you stop to think about it, Jim Allister's the exact opposite of that. Jim Allister's
Yeah.
always cheesed off or
He's almost choleric, and she was so
something.
that she was so calm, and she just basically dissected it. And that she said basically Jim thinks that he's living in 1798 type thing. That it's that there's only one community, and that everybody that nobody has a right to Irish nationalism and all that. And she was brilliant. She just absolutely destroyed his argument. He came across as a bigot.
The funny thing is, I remember talking to her mother, Clare Hanna, who also was an SDLP. Was she an MP, maybe, or she certainly
No,
was
I don't think her mother was.
a
No.
major noise in the SDLP at the time. And she was stepping back, and Claire was looking as if she was going to join or run as a candidate. And I remember the mother saying, "I don't know if I want her to do that." She says, "I don't think she'll get any thanks for it." It has to be the most misjudged political view ever, because
Yeah.
Claire came bustling along at that moment and got out of the car and had a child in her arms and so on. And she was the essence of motherhood, cheerfulness, all those things we were talking about.
Yeah.
She really had a lot going for her. There's no doubt about it. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go to another guy who, well, he has got a lot going for it, but for him, but he withdrew. Joe Kennedy withdrew from the university. Was it a university event? Was that for
McGee? It was a university event. I'm not.
to support? I suppose the idea was support that
It
idea
was about
of
the
the development
expansion
of
of.
McGee.
Yeah, he's Biden's representative on Earth
Yeah.
to the north. And anyway, he pulled out. I think it was last Wednesday, when informed that there was a big pro-Palestinian protest.
Yeah.
I think People Before Profit, Sean Harkin, I think might have organised it. But basically, Harkin, I see he's quoted in the Irish News as saying it was totally unacceptable that somebody, an American representative, should be at a university. People who are supporting the absolute massacres that are going on in Gaza. And Jude, I got to be honest, I think if we're welcoming with open arms the Americans, we're complicit in what they're doing. And somewhere I think I know everybody's going to go get real. This is real politics, but somewhere in life, Jude, you have to stand up and say, like, there's this thing called conscience, and if you can submerge your conscience ahead of your material gain, I think you stop being a human being.
Well, it is possible. I haven't heard, he may take the view you have suggested, but I have never heard him talking about Gaza. It may be that he has got views that are much different from the leader of his party. And let's face it, a lot of people would go to see Kennedy that, they wouldn't give a damn about politics. They might be very interested in the university even and not give a damn about politics. But I think it would have been a big draw. People will say, "Oh God, there's a candidate. I went there and I saw him. God, they're good looking, or they're, he's got his uncle's features or whatever."
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be a bit hard to say, no, your conscience says this guy's somehow linked with Joe Biden, because you could say the same thing about a lot of the big foreign direct investment companies, Apple and all those. So I wouldn't want to be too hard and fast on it. But I think the point you're making, that you don't want to do anything that would seem to endorse.
No, personally, I wouldn't. I wouldn't stop them going there, but I would have protested.
Yeah. Well, it appears to have worked. I think the more obvious thing to do would be for him to go and not necessarily, go in the face off or stand up against the demonstrators, but quietly slip inside and do it. It wasn't about
Well,
Gaza,
Jude,
the
I
meeting.
think, in fairness to him, I think that's exactly what he did do. I think he met them later privately.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I think so.
But
Yeah,
that's not, you see, he wouldn't have the audience then, and that would be
yeah,
important. Anyway,
yeah.
I hope he adds his shoulder to
No,
the
no,
wheel.
by the way, let me put on the record. I don't know what Kennedy's view on Palestine is at all.
Yeah.
One of them is one of the Kennedys, I think, is Israel is our ally and all this sort of stuff. But just when you're mentioning, we can't let it pass. Dude. Have you been watching X this last while? The pro-Israeli apologists are, celebrating the what would you say, the release of the 4 hostages. And
Oh,
right, I am
dear,
delighted for them,
dear.
genuinely am, and so on. But it looks like, and they don't give a shit about it. Apparently, it's at least 274 dead Palestinians, 700 wounded, and the attitude was, so what? And they don't give a monkeys if any of them are innocent civilians, children, or what does they say? 75 children are dead, and so on.
But
And
don't
that's
forget,
perfectly acceptable to the Israelis.
don't forget, there's one of the special armed forces of the Israelis. He was killed.
Yeah, yeah.
So they get excited about that, but they don't.
One of theirs is killed, and we're supposed to all go, And by the way, I don't agree with killing anyone. I genuinely don't. But the absolute disproportionate, grotesque nature of the killings, and the grotesque nature of the Israeli anti-apologists. Oh, this is perfect. No, it's not. It's not perfectly acceptable.
Well, there's a line from Macbeth. I remember exactly how it was, but Macbeth had been killing people, and he says at one point in a soliloquy, "I am so steeped in blood, I might as well wade on through it rather than go back." I think that's the case with Israel. They say, we killed them. Well, there's no point in going all peaceful or careful now. Let's just go the whole hog. And they have a point, because it's like Trump. He is such an obnoxious lying git that it doesn't matter what he says now. He just can say whatever he likes, and it doesn't really. It's diminishing returns of shock, if you like. So we're no longer shocked that the Israelis have killed hundreds of defenseless people, and I think they're playing on that.
By the way, the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister, neither of them mentioned the massive casualties. All they're saying, we recover. By the way, their force is supposed to have killed 3 other hostages in their attack.
Oh, really?
By the way, the other thing as well, Jude, they used, I think, a UN lorry or something to drive up on, or a humanitarian, So, and then, of course, once the guys got in, they bombed the whole area as well. So, in other words, that was to create a diversion. It was just absolute a bloodbath.
I can say, words fail me for what Israel's doing, and I don't know what anybody, Joe Biden or anybody else, would have any time for them. Anyway, let's go to a local event. Local things, they're very important. Local representatives.
Yes.
Van the man's old school may be changed into a Gael school. Van Morrison used to attend Orangefield Secondary School, and now it looks like Linda Irvine, who is the force behind the Irish language in East Belfast, that she may be moving, her people may be moving into that as a handy sort of venue. What do you think of that idea of the Irish language flourishing, at least to that extent, in a largely unionist / Protestant area?
Jude, after you laugh, isn't there a marvelous sense of irony that a Gael school is going to be set up on a place called Orangefield? I
never thought that before. Never thought that before.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I've been in that school. I'm trying to remember, was it or was another one very close to it, a grammar school? But there was, you go in and on the lobby, there's a welcome in about 20 different languages, The only one, guess what, which one's missing?
Was it Gaelic? That's Gaelic.
Wasn't it Irish? So that would add to the irony now if Linda Irvine moves her staff over there. Do you think it's important? Do you think it diminishes her unionism? Do you think it adds to the status of Irish? Do you think it adds to the status of nationalism?
Dude, to answer the first part, I think the language belongs to all of us. It's the native language of this place. And by the way, I've never got this thing about people like Gregory Campbell sneering at the Irish language. Jude, I drove through the Highlands of Scotland quite a few years ago, and we were up very far up. And I remember going through some wee villages, and there were actually signs on shops as well, I was going to say as yeah, and so on. And if you I watch Alba, BBC Alba, and they have some marvelous programs and Scots Gaelic and so on. And I'm sitting going, this is something that belongs to someone. I can't remember. Remember, there was a famous guy who collected songs. But he was a Protestant guy, but maybe late 1800s. Was it Carlton or something? I can't remember his name.
Could be yes, William Carlton. Yeah,
he collected, and all the young Irelanders, Thomas Davis and all, they were Protestants. They were supported the Irish language and so on, so on. So I have never got what the big problem. So the boys who probably saved the language, who saved a lot of the culture, who were big into the music, who were big into the poetry and all the rest of it, a lot of them were Protestants. So what the hell is the problem? What's the problem for modern day Protestants with Gaelic?
Well, some of them would say that that's a softening up, just as the United Economic Ireland could precede and encourage a united political Ireland. They see this idea of adopting Irish culture as kind of going native, and the next step would be that you voting for a united Ireland. In fact, there's a number of people. I don't know if you saw Davy Adams on TV recently. I think it was RTE he was on, and he's written an article in today's Irish Times where he talks about his past as a paramilitary in the UDA, and he renounces it all. He regrets it, and he also, I think, is on the record as saying that if there's a vote for United Ireland, he's perfectly open to that. That's not a problem at all. So I think a lot of people who would object, and they don't object too loudly because she's been going for years now, but those unionists who would object to Linda Irvine and the work she does, I think are doing it not because they hate the Irish language, because they're fearful that that might be a lever or a chink in the armor against United Irelanders. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I can understand that, and I can see that, and so on. But Jude, to quote sort of John Hume, you can be part of the European community and still retain your Irishness. I don't think it's possible to walk and chew gum at the same time. So it's possible, to be embrace, the part of your culture and not be asked. You're not surrendering anything. Like for unionists to sort of say, like, Jude, how come the unionists love a lot of this Big Tom stuff? And Jesus, Daniel O'Donnell is adored by wee Ruth from wherever she happens to be, and so on. And have all these, they love going along to all these boys that play this country music stuff. And that's, I don't know, but maybe that's different. But what's to stop them embracing, the traditional Irish music? Isn't there's a Dublin? I think he's from Northern Ireland. He's a minister, a Church of Ireland minister, I think. But he speaks Irish. He plays traditional Irish music, and I see him on TG Car quite regular. I would love to hear his views. But Jude, here's the thing. I presume times are changing, Jude. There seems to be the fact that Linda Irvine is able to get that school in Orangefield. I think there's a sort of current or an undercurrent going that is now not the big bogey that it was. And that there are a lot of people, and you mentioned Davy Adams. I think there's a sort of growing recognition. This sort of bogey down south, that it was Rome rule and home rule and all this sort of crap. The south of Ireland is far more progressive than Northern by a mile.
Do you see? Would you be as optimistic about a border poll now that Sinn Fein have suffered such a defeat? Because
I don't think that changed it well. I think this could be temporary in the sense that I think maybe Sinn Fein needed a kick. I think they'd become a wee bit too cocky. I think they started to take for granted. Now, Mary Lou said she says, we're getting hit because some people think we're in government because they're a big party. They're not in government. And she says, maybe some people are getting fed up waiting for them to get into government and saying, what's the point in voting Sinn Fein? We voted for them the last time, and so on. But the point is, Sinn Fein are they're not in government, but they, as Mary Lou said, they'll have to take that on board this, analyze where they went wrong, see where they, and learn from it. I think I got the impression, and I did say to you about 6 months ago, that I thought they'd lost their way. But
yeah, I did. In fact, you did. I think, yeah, and it looks like you're right. I was pretty shocked. I think there was a sense that they weren't going to do too well, but there wasn't a sense that they were going to do too disastrously, which in fact is what it is, But yeah. I point the finger to independents, and I really think independents are not good news, because they're like the definition of somebody who's what was it? I think is it the word idiot comes from being concerned just with your wee world. And there's sort of cartoon shows was shown during the First World War, where there were, two mighty nations are clashing with each other, and this wee woman in the middle milking her cow, ignoring them all. That sense of localism, where you certainly have to look after people, and politics should reach right into the heart of any constituency.
But Jude, here's the thing: is the world all switching to the right? I know it's a big concept, but in America, Trump's getting a massive vote. Orban's getting a massive vote in Hungary. Where else? In France, Macron's called a snap election because of the rise of the National Front type policies. And the Republic, there's a big vote for this independent Ireland, whatever the hell it's called. Clare Daly, it looks like I think she's in 7th place in the race for her seat. She probably won't get re-elected. Right across Europe, there seems to be a growing, either right or hard right, parties getting elected.
There definitely is that, and all I can say is I hope people stand up now. And there is nothing good about right-wing politics. Nothing. We've seen it on a milder scale with the Tories.
It's selfish, it's nasty, and it's British. But then, some people seem to like authoritarianism.
Oh yeah, the world is full of bastards, Pat.
Before we go, we have to mention that we get Ciara McGinn from.
Yes.
She won the Olympic gold.
She's no weaker, Pat. She's 32 years of age.
Yeah, but she's getting better. She won the gold Olympics, and that's Ireland's second. And there's I can't remember the girl. She's on the 400 meters tonight, Alda Moody or something. She could win a gold as well. So we're living in golden era as regards athletics.
Yeah, well, reasons to be cheerful.
Reasons to be cheerful on a not very cheerful Monday morning.
Okay, Pat. Talk to you
All
again.
the best, Jude.
All the best.